Hi, welcome to DiscoveryLean.net. Today, I'm going to show you a little bit about knives. This is sort of a knife 101. So we're going to pan down a little bit. This is a variety of knives. This is an indispensable item. This is your knife sharpener. You can use this sort, or this is another quick and easy kind that has a coarse setting and a fine setting. You can use that. It's an easy way to sharpen a knife. So this is kind of the mainstay knife in a lot of kitchens. This is a standard chef's knife. So variations of it. This is another size of a chef's knife. This is a small chef knife, and it's got these reliefs cut into it. So when you're slicing through a tomato or a potato, etc., that relief will basically help it where it doesn't stick to the blade. This is a Japanese knife, very thick hilt. The back of the knife is the hilt. It adds a lot of weight to it, so if you're cutting through something heavy with a chopping motion, this will cut through very dense items. This is called a utility knife, as the name would dictate. It's kind of your general kitchen knife, general purpose kitchen knife. A little easier to handle basically than a utility, than the chef's knife. And this is your paring knife. This is the Ferrari. Small, it handles well. So if I'm going to do something, I put my thumb on the blade. But if I'm going to core a potato or a tomato, I basically can cut that out. Nice and easy to do. So that's what a paring knife is for. General purpose cutting, coring. If you had a potato with eyes in a potato, you could just take the paring knife, cut out that eye of the potato. Now I have an eye of a tomato. Like an eye of a tiger. This is a Japanese knife company, Shun. Actually, these were a gift from a very dear friend of ours. It's a very thin knife. The hilt even is very thin, but it's a very sharp steel. Gets to a very fine point. So a thin knife, what that's good for, if I need to cut something, a very fine cut, this will cut. You can basically see through that piece of tomato. So, also, I got a piece of meat on the grill outside right now. I can show you how finely that'll cut. But a lot of people use a serrated knife. This is actually a bread knife. There's a serration on the blade, and also because people use these because it'll cut through the skin of the tomato. They'll find that even with a good chef knife, good quality chef knife, they might be stabbing at the tomato a little bit before it cuts through. What happens with the blade, on even a good blade, the blade starts off like this when you sharpen it. But over time, when you're using it against a hard piece of wood or a cutting surface, essentially it gets a little more like that, really. The very, very fine edge of it folds over, so you're basically not cutting with a flat blade, you're cutting with a bent blade. So that's where you use your sharpener. And that basically takes that edge off between sharpenings, and that'll then go right through the flesh of the tomato. Let's see. That's about it. This is again for delicate, fast, Ferrari, sharp turns, close-up work. Because again, you've got more control of the blades. This is a smaller blade, more precise, general utility. Or this is one of my favorites. This is a Chicago cutlery. Another big point about knives is this one has a riveted handle, a riveted wood handle. If you have a wood handled knife, riveted handle, do not leave that in the sink soaking. That makes the wood expand. That's not good for the knife. Any of these are all, I clean all my knives by hand. We're not leaving them soaking in the sink because that's bad for the wood. You don't generally leave any piece of wood soaking in water because it's going to absorb water, it's going to expand, it's going to shrink, it's going to crack. It's just not good for the wood. General utility, and then again for chopping, because you'll notice this isn't a flat blade, it's got a curve to it, so you can put it down on let's take a piece of tomato, you put the blade down, and you just chop with that in a stroking motion, and that's what that knife is for. So that's Knife 101. I'll show you how some of these are used in a second, because we've got a beautiful piece of flank steak on the grill. So I'll be back in a moment. Alright, welcome back. So I have a flank steak. I'm not sure if you've tried flank steak, but they're wonderful. I basically just put it on the grill We like ours medium rare. My dog's drinking water in the background. I also put an onion on. I grilled an onion with a little bit of olive oil, some basil, and some garlic on it. Nice addition to the steak. So first thing we do for a flank steak when we're cutting it, you do want a slicing knife. That's what this is, versus a utility knife preferably. My dog again. So in this case, the grain of the meat is running in this direction. So you want to cut on the bias to the meat. So that the grain is this way, you want to cut this way. So I am basically going to, and ideally for flank steak, using that slicing knife and cutting nice thin slices on the bias. Now, you can cook the steak any way you like. My wife and I prefer it medium rare. And see, I'm cutting nice thin slices with this knife. And I've got this beautiful cut. Oh, it's making me hungry. Very hard to resist taking a piece of that right now. But we're just going to cut this ideal cut. I can cut this with this knife. It's just a little hard. It's a thicker blade. I'm doing more work to cut through it than with that really thin, super sharp knife. In the end, a knife is a knife. It's a piece of steel at one end is sharp. So I can cut it with any of these knives. It's just some knives are better adapted at different purposes. So that's knife 101. I'm going to cut through this onion and have some of that along with this beautiful piece of meat. That's about all for now. Thanks for joining. I'm Mike from DiscoveringLean.net. Thank you.